Kenny Jameson here, making my videos to Mr. President Trump, Sir, 4-star general, supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer, the title of the job. People think it's the Attorney General or the head of the Department of Justice or the FBI or any of the other 17 investigation security agencies we have, the NSA, the Homeland Security, National Security, FEMA, I mean, and all the divisions of those. The CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, is supposed to do the investigating offshore. They're supposed to go in secretly like a Navy SEAL or a Ranger and find out where the enemy's at and then send in the Army. It turns out that the CIA is doing a lot of work here internally, and which is not the way it was designed, but then when it comes to the U.S. government, nothing ever goes the way it's designed. What we need to talk about here is history. And the word Watergate keeps coming up, and a lot of young people don't know what it was. And why it happened is even more important. Why the CIA broke into the Democratic headquarters to get information. In all these hearings, you could watch many hearings on YouTube or history. Something smells like a rat. No. The only person that's ever really truly exposed it was the ex-governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, in the deep dungeons of the Pentagon. There's not hidden, but there's the basement in the Pentagon. Finally, he was surrounded by a bunch of CIA guys. They were giving him a tour, and then they kind of like locked the dang door there and gave him a little talking to. And he was what was he, a SEAL? I mean, the guy, you couldn't intimidate him. He was ready to die back when he was 20 years old. Nothing mattered to him. He was a tough guy. He posed as a wrestler there, made some money, Hollywood. But anyways, the reason for the video is to see if anybody knows what was in those papers. What were they breaking in for? Jesse Ventura exposed it. Why the CIA, under Nixon's direction, he was the president at the time. Well, you've got to have a little history lesson of who ran against Kennedy in the 1960 election. Who was his opponent? Well, it turned out it was this Mormon guy, Nixon. People don't even know he was a Mormon. But that's religion, and that's separated there. Who just kind of goes to his beliefs. But what it gets down to, I'll get to it, is the papers that they were looking for, the CIA, was the documentation that the Democratic Party had on, hold on, the Kennedy shooting, and who ordered it, and how it went down, and how the Warren Commission was completely manipulated. They did a big, like they're doing now, a big hearing on it. The Warren Commission, all the evidence, the Congress and the Senate wanted to do their own separate trial over and above the courts. It wasn't a military trial. It was a Congress and Senate trial. They do trials there. They're supposed to make laws, and the FBI and the Justice Department are supposed to enforce the laws. But occasionally, the Congress and the Senate thinks that they're policemen, because most of them are lawyers, and most of them were prosecutors. That's how they got their reputation. So they really like to transform back to when they were prosecutors. And who better to make new laws than a prosecutor? That the laws needed to be tuned up a little bit so they could get convictions of people that were 100% guilty. Tune up the laws there of evidence and just technicalities. Back 10, 20 years ago, everybody seemed to be escaping with technicalities. They'd pay their lawyer $10,000, he'd split it with the judge, and they'd be walking free on a technicality. That's called white privilege. They're the people with the money. If you were rich, I mean, you had that much cash, you could you could pay a lawyer, and the lawyer would make a backdoor plea bargain with the judge and the other prosecutor. You'd spend some money, and by God, they'd get off on probation, and it didn't matter what the crime was. That was a common thing. It's probably still happening today, because we have to remember that judges are lawyers too, and they go to work to make money. Period. Occasionally, they lock guys up if it's too much in the media, or they think they're going to have oversight at their local courts. And it's like, we can't let this guy go. That's going to stick out like a sore thumb. He's got to do a year. You know, just give him a mild sentence. We got to keep him shut up for a while. But anyways, Jesse Ventura exposed that. That's why they broke into those offices, these CIA guys of all people, to get those documents of who ordered the Kennedy killings, the Kennedy assassination. He had been his opponent. This was in 1972, the election. He won by the landslide. The American people, I don't know if we knew what it was. I was young then. I was born in 58, so geez, I was only 12, 14, 72. You know, that's about right. Didn't understand it. Ninth grade, my government teacher, I was supposed to do the Watergate project in the government class. All everybody had, and there was so many articles, and it wasn't that big a deal. He thought I should have really pursued that. He was a radical Democrat at the time. I can't remember. I can see him. He was a pretty big, stout guy. I can't think of his name offhand. Didn't really teach us much. He was not like my government teacher at 11th grade, Mr. Johnson. He exposed it all. We talked about communism there in 75. Yes, we did. 74, 75. It was a hot issue in this country. Pulling out of Vietnam, and communism's going to spread. Now, dictating governments like Russia, would spread out and take other countries' ports, like maybe in Ukraine. And China might take over India, which isn't happening. Those people are pretty tough. They're holding the Chinese back. But just Russia might spread out and try to take Afghanistan, like they tried to do until Charlie Wilson got involved. Got them Stinger missiles and shot down their helicopters. That's the unknown war. That's a great history lesson if you want to learn something about the United States and the way things operated. When you were in diapers, look up the Charlie Wilson War. Watch that movie. That's a fact. That one congressman gathered up $1 billion and helped Afghanistan run Russia out of there. It was no one wanted to talk about that. It's an embarrassment to the rest of the government, because that was the hot spot of the world. That was where the communists were spreading. And we shut them down. Well, we taught the Afghans to shut them down. Now they've turned on us. But pretty strange. I just thought you might want to know what the Watergate papers were all about. And I'll title this video CIA, FBI, because they knew, Secret Service, the SS, and maybe that'll get some attention, and someone will go, really? Is that true? We better check into this. Nixon wasn't a rat. He found out they did it for him, and he didn't want to turn him in. If anything, the man was honorable. And that's kind of a weird thing, because he did cover up crimes. As the President of the United States, he shouldn't do that. But the reality was, he wasn't a rat. He didn't want the guys to get arrested. They ended up fighting amongst themselves and turning themselves in. Pretty sick. Kenny Jameson here on what's the story behind the story at the Watergate? Why were they breaking into the offices? Just to get information? What information? Think about it. Bye.